Tonight, we're continuing our conversation about the American epidemic of chronic illness, especially in children. Now, yesterday, we spoke with Callie Means, who is working with RFK Jr. to spearhead the Make America Healthy Again initiative. Dr. Shanahan, a board-certified family physician and author of 3 books on nutrition, and Jillian Michaels, one of the most popular fitness trainers in the U.S., who has become a very active health advocate. Here's what happened yesterday. Well, tonight, parents, you need to listen up. Seriously, we are talking about one of the most dangerous, harmful, and sometimes even deadly things your children encounter every day. I'm talking about what we call food. I am joined by Callie Means. He is determined to building a healthier America for generations to come.
We're being poisoned. We fundamentally have 10,000 chemicals in our food that aren't legal in any other country. We are funding and writing the check for poisonous, addictive food to our society, and it's criminal.
There are 10,000 chemicals going into America's food supply that are not approved in other countries.
That's right. The purpose is to make food cheap and addictive, which is what food companies do. I've yet to meet an American who wants their kids to be sick, but we're committing almost genocide on our kids with what's happening with metabolic conditions.
Fitness expert, nutritionist, and health advocate Jillian Michaels has devoted her expertise and her time to fighting for the health of all children in America.
Dr. Phil, this is where it all begins. Big Ag has received about $500 billion in subsidies from 95 to 2022. And that means that $500 billion goes to grow genetically engineered monoculture crops soaked in their chemicals, which the USDA is tasked with selling this surplus of calories. And then they shape the food guidelines through the food pyramid. And what's happening is you have a loaded gun pointed at your kids that you're paying for with your tax dollars, and it's all designed to encourage addiction and overconsumption.
Jillian, you believe in exercise, you believe in people taking control of their own life.
Taking agency is a piece of it, but the reality is 74% of Americans are overweight and obese, and it is not because they're lazy or stupid. It's because this system is rigged on every level against them in the ways that we're telling you right now.
We're joined by Dr. Kate Shanahan. Doctor, you say the standard American diet isn't just scientifically wrong, it's absolutely dangerous.
Yes, it is absolutely morally wrong as well. American doctors were fed misinformation about fats way back in the 1940s. And ever since then, the fats that we've been eating have been vegetable seed oils, which are industrial products that never existed before the industrial era. Canola oil originally was used as machine oil in Canada during World War II.
So canola oil they were using to make a tank run, and now we're eating it.
Yes, that is exactly right.
I have a strong belief that you know what Merit TV is all about. We're about talking to the heartland. Give me the facts and I'll start making noise. And that's what we're wanting to do, is give people the facts. Tonight, we're going to meet real people who are actually experiencing these issues. But before we hear their stories, I want to ask you a really important question, Dr. Shanahan. You say that we can actually reverse some disease processes with food. How do we do this?
100%. We ate our way into this so we can eat our way out of it, right? We have to eat our way out of it. We can't medicate our way out of a dietary problem. We need to lose our fear of so many of these foods that we've been told are bad for us, right? We have heard not to use butter. Well, if you want to get your children to eat vegetables, there's no better way than to melt a whole ton of butter and pour it over that steamed broccoli and add a little bit of salt and maybe a little garlic. Your kids, I bet your kids like garlic butter. They like garlic bread. Well, garlic broccoli is just totally delicious. So we have to get over some of these programmed fears. We have to re-embrace the real foods that our ancestors, that people in this country were eating every single day 100 years ago, when, by the way, there was almost no obesity, almost no heart attacks, when chronic disease in children was absolutely unheard of. Some people are like, I am so busy, I'm a busy mom, I don't have time to pack lunch for myself. Okay, do you have time to slice some cheese, bring a couple handful of nuts, or maybe bring an apple and slice it in half and put some peanut butter on there? I'm just talking about really simple, ready-to-eat foods. These are the original fast foods.
Right.
Cheese and things like preserved meats, like your prosciutto or your things that we call sandwich meats these days. Those are foods that people used to bring with them to work before you had your DoorDash and all that kind of stuff. And they are extraordinarily healthy, but we have told that we are not supposed to eat them because of the animal fat. And that is the myth that is killing us. When I work with people, one of the hardest things to do is to help them just accept that you can eat these delicious foods. You can have a hamburger. You can put cheese on your hamburger. Like, what's better than a perfectly cooked steak in butter sauce? You can put salt on your food. That is another lie. Salt doesn't cause any kind of disease. It is actually impossible for a human being to eat too much salt, because if we oversalt our food, do we want to swallow it? No, it's disgusting. If somebody forces us, we get thirsty, we drink more water, we pee out the problem. There are two major myths, really, the fat and the salt. And just rethinking, going back to what people used to do with the fatty foods that they ate that were delicious, satiating, very simple, and not fearing the salt.
That's how we grew up. And that's been hijacked. And Jillian, Callie, that's something you've looked at, that they're manipulating to maximize these cravings that people get.
Yes, and what I recommend this is something called a dopamine detox. And this actually is the work of Dr. Anna Lemke, who wrote Dopamine Nation. She told this from an emotional perspective of, it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. They are chemically addicted to the food. And if you do not break that chemical addiction, they don't stand a chance. And then, heaven forbid, they have a little bit of willpower. As I mentioned, they make sure to surround you with the food, because willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. And if the food sits in front of you all day long and you have a moment of vulnerability, you're going to partake. So finding a way to refrain for about 30 days helps break the chemical addiction. So you could start leaning towards what Dr. Shanahan is talking about and start moving more. And if I could just say one more thing, Dr. Phil, when we're looking at these GLP-1 drugs that have become so popular, like Ozempic or Wegovy, what do? Well, they mimic a satiety hormone that our bodies already make. It's called GLP-1. So what's going to naturally release GLP-1? Well, protein, fiber, and fat. But when you drink a soda, it doesn't have any of those three things. And in fact, it actually does the exact opposite. It triggers a sugar crash and it makes you hungrier, thereby undermining your satiety. And that isn't even looking at the way it impacts the pleasure center of your brain.
You say the craziest part is they even brag about these things being addictive.
Yes, you can't eat just one.
Yeah, there you go. Bet you can't eat just one. Yeah, that's kind of coming back to haunt them. Long about now. I don't even remember who said that, so the ad didn't work, but...
Lay's. Dr. Phil, it was PepsiCo and Lay's.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. All right, a mother is here who says her children are already facing obesity and chronic health issues, and she's worried they'll have a lifetime of problems if she can't figure out how to make a change in what she's feeding them. We're going to see if we can't help next.
I have two boys. Hunter is 10 years old and Polly is 6, and he was diagnosed with autism at 3. I have read studies that believe things like the red dye 40 can cause autism. I don't know if the things that I ate while I was pregnant affected Polly's diagnosis. Some of the things that he consumed as a child, the processed food and the chemicals, did that cause his autism?
The IRS is ramping up enforcement for 2025. If you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, don't panic. The truth is, it's smart to get ahead of this, but never contact the IRS alone. Turn it over to the team at Tax Network USA, because not all tax resolution companies are created equal. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know which IRS agents to work with and which to avoid. Tax Network USA has proven strategies that are designed to settle your tax problems, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. Their attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists for free. Stop the threatening letters. Stop looking over your shoulder. Leave your IRS troubles behind you for good. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. That's tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. I want to introduce Caitlin, an influencer who is documenting her massive weight loss journey on social media. Now, she was 600 pounds at this time last year. Now she's lost 200 pounds. She said she was born into an obese family, and now she wants to break the cycle and get herself and her sons healthier.
I have struggled with my weight my whole life. It really has affected the quality of my life. When I stepped on the scale and saw that not only was I over 500 pounds, I was pushing 600 pounds, I was just like in complete denial. I was disgusted. Growing up, I was always overweight. I was considered morbidly obese at a very young age, and it's just skyrocketed from there. I grew up in the projects. We were definitely a lower class. My heaviest weight in high school was probably around like 350. I had my first child at 23, about 4 years after graduation, and I was 509 when I was pregnant with my son. Hunter has been diagnosed with child obesity, and Polly is currently following in his footsteps. I feel like I have failed my kids, but I also realize that it's not too late. They are only 6 and 10, and I am taking back my life at 34. My kids have seen me lose 200 pounds this year. It is extremely important to me that my kids get healthy with me. I truly believe that we can break the cycle in our family, in our generations, going forward with obesity.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
undertaking that journey and the
you.
success that you've had so far.
Thank you.
So what have you done to change what's happening?
So I started my journey at the beginning of the year, like a lot of people, with a New Year's resolution. And I lost 79 pounds on my own. Just, changing my eating habits, focusing a lot on protein. Portion size was really important to me. And then April 22nd of this year, I did have weight loss surgery. I just hit 200 pounds down the other day. It's just really focusing on my macros, which I'm learning about, carbs, fat, protein, and just really focusing on portions and making healthier choices.
A lot of people think having that surgery is like an easy way out, shortcut. There's nothing easy about that at all, is there?
No, I mean, I ate myself to 600 pounds. I have an addiction to food. And, they did surgery on my stomach organ. They did nothing to my brain. I still am addicted to food, and I can't avoid food like someone with an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction. I am surrounded by food and need food to fuel my body on a daily basis. So I am fighting a mental battle every day to fight my addiction to food.
Yeah, there is a difference there. If it's alcohol, you can abstain 100%. You don't have to interact with the substance. But with food, you can't go to complete abstinence. You have to interact with the substance, which would make it really hard for an alcoholic. If they had to interact, they had to drink some,
Right.
would make it particularly difficult. but you do have to eat, and so it's hard. And as Jillian was saying, one of the best things you can do is to program your environment to support your goals, which means you've got to clean out your environment of everything that you don't want to be eating, but you have to repopulate it with the things you do want to eat because you don't want to be controlled by the fear of being hungry. Have you been listening to the conversation that we've been having?
I have, and I agree completely. I'm guilty of thinking, butter is the bad, evil thing. You shouldn't be eating butter, you know what I mean? And things like that. So it's been very informative so far.
Yeah. And also, you need to change what you're teaching your children as well, right?
Exactly.
Because they don't have the ability to go to the store and make selections and choose their diet and all. That comes from you. So you can be a role model and also provide them with what they need. And that's what's important for them if they're going to have a chance.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be a battle, right? This is like such an intimate part of your relationship with your children. And that is your relationship. You're teaching them to have a relationship with food. And when you enjoy what you're eating and are proud of what you're eating and it makes you feel good, they see that. Now, one of the things that I've discovered and I want to share with you here that is so important is that something that seed oils do to our metabolism. They change the way our brains crave energy. Instead of craving for nutrition, instead of having an appetite that is kind of a small, quiet little reminder of mealtime, that's what hunger really is supposed to be. It is an intense emergency because your brain is not getting enough energy because your blood sugar is dropping. This is something that we call hangry. So a lot of people are familiar with this, right? Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, that wasn't a word. If the kids were hungry, we were told, go back outside and play. We didn't have meltdowns. And it's not that we were just better behaved. It was that our metabolisms were capable of fueling our brain with energy between meals so that we didn't need to snack. And what seed oils do to our metabolism is they stop the flow of energy from our body fat to our cells, and especially our brains, so that our brains need so much blood sugar that our blood sugar levels drop. And this is why we have hangry, and this is why willpower won't work. And studies have shown this. Clinical psychologists have designed trials. When people's blood sugar is following, their willpower implodes. There is no such thing as willpower.
Well, willpower is a myth. It's emotionally driven, and emotions are fickle. You're all gung-ho when you're emotionally jacked to do it, but then when you don't feel like it, your willpower's gone. You got to program your environment to support your goal. Let me ask you this. How is it that people haven't known this? Can we put up the food pyramid? We've been funding this forever, right? And when you go look at what kids are being fed in school, it's not healthy.